this. It's good to be It's good to be a part of this, man.
Are you a disobedient civilian?
I try not to be, but apparently the police thought I was last night. So.
I mean, it's been pretty peaceful out there. So
it was absolutely peaceful, man. The people were chanting, "What part of peaceful don't you understand?" as they were arresting 30 people. They arrested 38 people last night, something like that. I mean, nobody was out unruly.
Hey, bro,
nobody was being violent.
she just got out and she wants to tell her story, so we're gonna ask her a few questions.
They want people out of City Hall. They want people off City Hall.
And she can talk to the people on here too.
Whatever, means that they can to get people off City Hall. And last night they just say that everybody was trespassing, arrested.
Just a second, let me get this off.
The officer who was taking the paddy wagon, as I was, he said, "Okay, to be against the sun like that, right?"
Just a second, let me see what the picture's like.
And I think that guy's missing the fucking point.
So I was put into the class at 2-ish, and then probably around 4-ish or so, I believe, when we actually...
Is there a microphone for that? Or?
Yeah, which one?
Yeah, you might want to sit down here. Be looking at and talk. Yeah, you're about right. Okay.
Is this good?
Yeah, let me sit in front of the
Yeah, man, thanks for those sound a bit.
All right, cool. Are you on? So tell us a little bit about what happened, and starting with the beginning of the incident last night.
Okay, so I got out to City Hall last night around 7 after I heard that there was going to be police action. People thought. And around 10 o'clock, nothing had happened. They hadn't come to remove our tables quite yet.
So the warning was about what? Can you start a little bit about what the...
So there was some sort of notice, a citation put out saying that our food and that... What else were they wanting? And we were going to have the power washing that evening. And there was something really strange that was new about the mezzanine. There were these different layers of our mezzanine now. Some were okay to be on, others weren't.
The
and it was like
being
1, 2, and 3.
The stairs
right.
that go up in City Council. Okay.
Right. So 1, 2, and 3. They were calling them balconies of the mezzanine. Well, we didn't understand what that meant. So one of our fellow occupiers went over and asked one of the police officers, what exactly is 1, 2, and 3 as far as the segments are concerned. He reported that the officer turned to him and said, "I don't know." And he goes, "This looks like 1, this looks like 2. And he goes, "Well, which one is 3 though?" Because 3 was a part of the new. And he goes, "I don't know." Was just completely rude and didn't offer any kind of explanation whatsoever.
Right.
So then that was just kind of the beginning of everything. They came out, took our table, which was feeding people. I mean, the food was actually still hot. We were having spaghetti.
Right.
I was eating the spaghetti. All of us were having it. I mean, it's young people, older people, professionals, students, homeless.
They came out of nowhere?
They came out of nowhere. They started surrounding us.
How many?
I went downstairs and kind of did a recon with some of my friends. I took photographs of all the police cars we could find. We found 29 police cars in the bottom of the basement.
Wow.
Yeah. And so the first time they just kind of came around through the entrance of City Hall around to the mezzanine and then started to come up. So this seems like kind of an immature tactic too for a police to kind of come up the mezzanine, but that's what they did. And so then of course we were surrounding them, but they were surrounding our table. So they took our table.
Wow.
So then the next time, they retreated.
So they took the things and left.
Took the things and left. They came back out, then started taking our food.
Wow.
Yes. And then that's when it started to get hairy. They then retreated after that. And we knew that at 2 o'clock that there would be power washing. And we knew that we were all going to have to take a personal stance of if we were going to move or if we were not going to move. Well, I decided that today was the day and I was not moving. So me and, I'm not exactly sure the count, but maybe 6 of us had decided in one particular spot, we're not moving.
Okay, so you sit down?
We were sitting down with our legs crossed. no big deal.
So this was spontaneous, or did you guys like?
We had been talking about it. We had been talking about it, but not over a long period of time. So it wasn't really planned out exactly how we were going to.
Have you received some training around?
No, and we really need. That's what we've talked about after we were inside. We were like, so we don't really know exactly
how this went down.
All of the steps.
Yeah.
We should have known more. Like all of us thought that we should have been read our rights. They laughed at us hysterically when I said, you haven't read me my rights, turned red in the face and said, we don't read you your rights. The judge reads you your rights.
The judge reads you.
So the judge didn't read my rights until 8 hours after I had been put in those restraints, along with all of the other people who were arrested with me.
Was he saying that you were not arrested then?
Exactly. That is the point. So when they took us and then the others with us too, they loaded up into the bus one by one. They took name, date of birth. You were being cited, I think it was cited, with criminal trespass warning. We were loaded onto the bus. No one tells us we're arrested. We're fingerprinted. Our clothes are taken off of us. We have our, other clothes which there was tons of, I felt like a lot of rudeness between the cops talking to us, just debasing us.
Really?
Totally treating us like we were not human.
Woo! Lucian, woo! That's my camera, I think.
Yeah? So basically then it wasn't until we actually saw the magistrate at 10. So like I said, I was arrested, given a warning, a citation at 2. That is 8 hours later until I'm actually heard, which I've already been sitting in a cell at this point. My clothes have already been taken from me. I have not been able to make a phone call.
So, so they took you out of your clothes?
Yeah. We were all in the stripe, no panties, no underwear, no nothing. There were men patting down women. Male officers were patting down females. She said, I do not want a man touching me. I would like a female officer. They refused her right to a female officer. A male officer tried to then do a more thorough search on me because he didn't like my attitude. And he said that men and women are all the same. I said, no. Then they told me because I was giving them attitude that they were going to put me in here for 72 hours on a suicide watch. They were going to then...
Wow.
Yes.
My gosh, so this is like, they went all out. This is hardcore.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so please continue. And so then they kept you there. So that was a threat.
Right.
Meanwhile, were you isolated from...
We were all isolated from one another. We were all in solitary.
So the harassment and the psychological abuse was ongoing. What?
After we didn't have to deal with the men kind of down in the booking and the processing part, and we were actually up on the floor with the women. She was definitely not nice to us, but I wouldn't say that it was abusive. I wouldn't say it was abusive, but she was like, oh, y'all's little protest, and just kind of demeaning in that way. Your little protest, and somebody asked, did we make the paper? And she's like, what paper would y'all make? Just stuff like that, which I heard from my mother that we did make CNN top news, if that means anything.
Yeah, we had over 5,000 viewers at that time, when it was going on last night. They did shut down the stream for about 10-15 minutes, but we got it right back up.
Awesome, thank you.
So
that wasn't me. That wasn't me. That was the media and tech people.
Awesome.
So ultimately, can you talk to us a little bit about what happened? Actually, did you witness people being dragged out of there that were not part of the sitting?
Well, I did see 2 people being dragged, but I couldn't tell what. They were around the food table.
Go ahead and talk. Hey, brother.
They were around the food table, and so I was taking photographs at the time, and I gave my camera and my card to a friend of mine, so I don't even really know what I got to see through my camera lens. But there were 2 people that were having to be dragged away from the food. But then when other people started getting on the bus, because I was only thinking there was probably going to be 6 of us, we heard stories like a young man got on and he said, all I did was look at a cop and he pulled me by my collar and cuffed me. And then his girlfriend called his name and somebody grabbed her up. And it was just stuff like that. People were walking by and getting their,
Did you feel that they were targeting people intentionally?
That's what a lot of people said whenever they got on. They felt like that we all fit a certain demographic, that we looked like radicals.
So you were getting people for pointing at them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And taking pictures.
So people were pointing. Who was pointing?
there was people pointing at the cops, and I wasn't there for that. This is all from other people and stuff. I ended up across the street to make sure, because I know I would have been a target.
Did you guys see the police talking to each other before they targeted certain people? Because they did it in New York, you know, you can see the video in New York.
I've had people come up and take pictures of me and stuff. We were obvious undercovers, and I've seen that done to other people and stuff. Come up and take a picture of their face. I got out of there and stuff and was across the street to make sure this was protected and we could be here for this today.
Yeah, no, I did have, I asked an officer why I had to move at one point in time. This is before I was apprehended, and I got upset wanting to know why, and he would never explain why. So him and his two officers kept making a lot of eye contact with me, and then about 20 minutes later, that's when I was finally detained. I never even got to see who the officer was, whoever put those restraints on me.
So you were not read your rights?
I was not read my rights, and they said that we don't get our rights read to us. We don't get rights read to us. And I was like, isn't that the whole deal? Wasn't there like a case like Miranda versus somebody? That's why they're like Miranda rights, you know? Like,
So
because how does it do you any good to know your rights once you're already in front of a judge?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
I mean, if you were being detained, then they don't. But you were arrested and taken to jail. So, I mean, were you booked?
So yes, eventually, right?
Okay.
Right. And so I don't know if that's one of the tactics then too, is I'm detaining you up until the very point where they need to actually flip it to, now I'm arresting you. So now you don't have any of these rights. So I don't know if that's one of the tactics, is to think, well, we're just detaining you so you can do whatever you want. So keep acting up. Because there was an officer that kept turning around. He would say things like to us about our bra and our underwear, and he would turn around and look at us and be searching our faces. Us and all of the women were like, he's trying to entice us. I felt like he was wanting us to jump out of our skin and just say, you can't speak to me that way, just so he could turn around and say that we were acting disorderly. But none of us ever took the bait, and that was the officer that baited me, I felt like, the entire morning. And I felt like if I would have just given him one more inch, I swear, I don't even know what would have happened.
What do you think now in retrospect about some of the internal discussions that have been going on at the occupation in terms of the occupation's relationship to the police? I mean,
I have not been okay with the fact that we've had such a close, positive relationship with the police this entire time, because whether or not...
Yes, there's a lot of love going on over here.
That's awesome.
Imagine if we were in Palestine and the Israelis were releasing people after having them in jail for 25 years. That's quite a party there. So sorry, go ahead.
Well, I don't feel, I understand that police are, or at least my personal opinion is, yes, police as people are part of the 99%. However, they have a job that enforces 1% rule.
Right.
Therefore, they are not the same.
Right.
They're in a special category. They are different, and they have power. They have this. There's a power differential between us and them that is not the same.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's clear, and there is no historical point of reference for what has been kind of like slowly getting into the occupation about the police being our friends. The police have historically been used for repression and the protection of private capital, the same capital that we're supposed to be, you know, in opposition against. You know, Wall Street is private capital, and the police play a protecting role of the status quo. So, I mean, individuals are individuals; they're human beings, but like they're wearing a uniform and they have a job to do.
Yeah.
And I think that we, you know, I am hoping that this will be like a growing, you know, awakening moment,
yes.
You know, for the folks that keep, even now sometimes, you know, advocating for the fact that like the cops are our friends, and you know they're letting us do this and they're letting us do that.
It's City Hall. This is our space.
Right.
This is our space. They don't let us do anything.
Right.
We are just exercising our right to be there.
Exactly.
They don't give us this.
Exactly.
They're, you know.